A quick poll here. I'm going to have you raise your hand on your level of comfort with growth mindset from what the heck to, oh, sure, I could teach this. Okay, so raise your hand if you really have no idea what growth mindset is and you were just told to come to this group. Okay. If you've read a little bit, seen a TED Talk, read a New York Times, if you've actually gone and found a Dweck article and read it, okay. Fun from everybody, awesome. This is my title slide. That's me. I'll post the slides, so feel free to relax and enjoy the show. And I'm kind of odd, so I thought I'd take a minute to talk about them. I feel like you guys are going to be my lonely over here people. So if you're tired of ignoring me, you can feel free. I was an adjunct lecturer until I was hired to be a full-time biology education researcher for 9 years at UC Irvine. So I've read the active learning literature, and one of the things I did was teach in some interesting ways to demonstrate that students' heads wouldn't fall off. So I did a couple versions of flipped introductory biology and then a flipped anatomy class. So I've experienced with flipped classes, but as a researcher rather than a teacher, so I was not trying to balance all of the other job responsibilities. I had a little bit more freedom of time than most people. My current work is faculty development. I do training for faculty who are interested in improving their classes. I'm theoretically supposed to teach them how to use technology, but frankly, faculty don't generally want to add a lot of technology to their class, so I just help them do whatever it is they want to do better. index cards or clickers, I don't care, whatever works for you, works for me. So that's what I do full-time now, is faculty training. So I like to know what's going on, which is one of the reasons why I've been reading a lot about growth mindset and Dweck. And when I read the articles, I thought some things were interesting about them. So I thought it would be a useful point of discussion for you guys to see what's out there so you can judge whether or not the TED Talk is something that translates to your class. The format, I'm going to give you a little bit of vocabulary so you know what we're talking about. I'm going to show you an experiment and give you a chance to talk about what that means, show you the other kind of classic experiment, give you a chance to talk about it, and then we'll sum up. That's what we're going to go over. I tend to be excruciatingly active, which means we're going to have to talk to people around you, so just kind of emotionally prepare yourself now. Get a drink of water. Vocabulary. First off, this is from a rather old Dweck paper, and it's just purely kind of a philosophical idea, but it does show a nice introduction to some of the terms that we're going to see. She breaks down theories of intelligence that are not the fixed versus growth that we see in some of the more lay literature. Instead, it's called entity theory and incremental theory. So you'll see those terms used a lot instead in the research literature. But they're equivalent to fixed and growth later. Her theory is that if you think intelligence is fixed, that your goals for education are to demonstrate that your intelligence is awesome. If you have high confidence in your present ability, if you think you're a pretty awesome student, then you are willing to try new things. But if your confidence is not high, then you want to avoid looking stupid because you're doomed to whatever intelligence you have, so you want to present the best possible face to your intelligence. That's kind of the fixed theory. Whereas if you think intelligence can be changed, you're willing to work hard to make changes, and so you're more likely to be interested in seeking challenges, seeking things that you might fail at because it's okay, you're getting better, you're growing stronger. Okay, so those are kind of the terms that get thrown around a lot. Questions? All right, so let's do the first experiment. This is 1998. Mueller, and Dweck. Carol Dweck is the one given the most credit for growth mindset. She's the one who got to write the book. She's a educational psychologist. Both of these studies have her as the PI. Okay, so just take a minute to picture running this experiment. Okay, you're at school with a bunch of fifth graders. Her research assistants pulled students individually out of class to this experiment. How many of you have seen Raven's problem before? This is what it looks like. So, raise your hand and tell the answer. You're supposed to determine what goes here.
So what is the problem?
This is an example of what's called Raven's problems, and they're intelligence tests that don't require reading, which allows them to be used more flexibly than something that require actual masters of actual reads. So they're made with this, I guess. I should point out I'm a biologist, not an educational psychologist or a cognitive scientist. So I'm just Googling things here, like the rest of you. This is how I work. But it's interesting to me. These are the kind of tests, I mean, because if you're going to like, what they're trying to do is tell somebody they're intelligent or not, right? So you need this kind of new framework that you can apply to the students to and have them think first. It's interesting. Question, Francis?
I thought you said raise your hand, you got it.
Oh, okay. Good job. All right, so you can see something like this. You can tell students you've got 80% correct. Good job. And they'll be like, okay, right? Because they're not super sure. And they told them these different results. So here's praise, right? You must be smart, or you must have worked hard. And that's the story we're telling here, that these different sorts of praise are going to produce different effects on what they're going to do next. Specifically, if they then get a group of harder problems and have to struggle through those, and are told, oh, we only got 50% and got those correct. Do you want to try the third set?
No.
Let's see this here. Okay. So here's the graph from this experiment. There's the fixed mindset, that you must be smart. The experimental, you must have worked hard when you control. Which one do you think is the result of the growth mindset? You must have worked hard. Dot dash line. Dot dash line. This one? Which one do you think is fixed?
Dash.
So being praised for your intelligence makes them less likely to want to try the third problem set. Being praised for your effort makes them more likely compared to the control. And then they did some additional tests on them. They had the students fill out, they had this kind of color wheel where you give attribution to why you got the results that you did. And so do you give your score, is the reason for your score because you have poor ability? Is the reason because you didn't try very hard? They also measured how many additional questions did they do. Did you enjoy the task? So if you take a moment to painfully work your way through the means, you can see that generally praising students for effort makes them less likely to say they did poorly because of low ability and more likely to say they did poorly because they didn't try very hard. They're a bit more likely to persist, and they're more likely to say they are enjoying the task compared to the students who are praised for their intelligence. Okay, talk to your neighbor for a minute about what you find interesting or impressive or not impressive about these data. And I'm going to ask for comments.
Oh, yeah. There's more. I'm sure there's more.
Besides ability,
Yeah, sure. I'm currently reviewing my comments. I can tell the students that if you
There is one for
change that, very successful.
Okay, I mean, here what you think, as people who come from STEM backgrounds and look at research, what are your thoughts about this research study and the results? Was it convincing to you, or is it? You didn't want to talk to 128 fifth graders, so you're pretty impressed with people who did.
I spent lots of variation, so when you're saying to think about, especially for the enjoyment and persistence part, that's a lot of, actually all of them, a lot of variation.
Check out the standard deviations.
They're not even
So I noticed the standard deviations are pretty big. And what about the graph? Something made my graph big.
It's good there, Boris.
Yeah.
By the way, these are numbers, like when I see 4.9, how am I reading that? Is that the number of people who said they still?
These are apparently the number of problems solved. They were told they had to do trial 3, whether or not they wanted to. So I think it was a number that they were allowed to stop whenever they wanted to.
I meant on the right side.
Oh, and here?
Task enjoyment.
That's a Likert scale. How much did you like this activity?
Okay.
The attribution has to do with this wheel where they decide how much of their results was due to lack of time, trying hard, poor ability. So it's different amounts of, I guess, percentages of the total amount.
So this graph, I'm trying to understand the graph. It represents if someone has fixed mindset is likely to not do better,
Yes.
right?
They are less likely to want,
To go ahead.
they give up faster.
Was the feedback a single sentence given by the researcher? Like how much of the particular type of mindset was?
It was a single sentence. They were all told, you did great, you got 80% correct on the first batch of 10 problems.
Right.
And then they were either told, you must be really smart, or you must have tried really hard,
And that's all that was said to them?
or, okay, let's now do the next thing. You know, the control, they didn't get that sentence at all. And then they were all given a difficult batch of questions.
Right. It's just surprising the difference is based on a single.
Yeah, although I will say, I'm not a fan of starting a y-axis there. I'm kind of
Well, the first thing that I looked at and kind of popped into my head was, did gender play a role? Because women tend and girls tend to.
There has been an effect of gender, that girls seem more likely to be fixed mindset. This was controlled equal number of males and females. They don't separate it out, which might be interesting.
Well, yeah, I just wonder if particularly if girls were told that they were in the intelligence that they must be smart, and then got the harder one and told they did less than they used to do.
I have some papers that say female students are more likely to get up at that.
And think that they're dumb.
Yeah, clearly they
said
can't
she
do
wouldn't
this
want
thing.
to.
Yeah, that is. Okay, so that's an exploration of the famous Muller and Webb study. Let's take it to a practical level now. Are there things that, let's say there is some reasonable expectation that telling students they're smart has this kind of dampening effect, and telling students they work hard doesn't have as much of a dampening effect? Discuss with your neighbors some examples that you've seen in any situation when you're a student, when your kids are students, when you're a teacher, that might have had this message when you're thinking back.
they're actually assessing Jen as poorly, but it's really bad. It's not you know, that are in the class to, I don't know how to get
Okay, 2 more minutes, so if somebody hasn't talked yet, let them talk.
Ideally, I would like something where those has concepts still like that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm probably like looking for some people learn faster than others, but everyone yeah, I'm trying to do I don't know, maybe we're that's the only thing that
Okay, bring us back. Back row here, can you give me one example of something that somebody in your group said?
SAT scores is what we talk about the most. I know we standardized test scores, but
Okay, very good. How about this group? Something that struck you as?
I guess in I'm classing like quizzes, they're all numerical performance based, and then like students tested numerical performance based.
Okay.
There's a little bit of effort component to that. Not.
But it seems random. Can you do this? Can you not?
Yes.
Yeah, how about you guys?
There are people in the archive who in a room like this will tell you, oh, well, you did well because you're smart, and which tells the person back there that isn't quite as successful, that she must be dumb, rather than he worked really hard, and that's why he got it done. And so if you praise his effort, then she might get the impression that she's...
Only because I didn't sit in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he did really well, the effort pays off. Is the message.
But you made effort to get
Yes,
out.
yes. You're sitting with the cool kids.
Yeah. How about you guys? Any examples?
Yeah, we talked about someone about grades and how everything seems to be something kids focus on.
Okay. Math people?
We didn't answer the question. We were discussing something slightly different.
See, this is what happens when they sit in a different part.
No, but I mean, I think once we realized the question was that we pointed to grades as an example.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they got it right.
It's just, yeah.
Cool.
I think of things like when talking about how tough a major is and only half of you will end up finishing, I think those kinds of mindsets are really create a lot of anxiety and negative competitiveness among students that I think can inhibit learning.
I want to give you guys a specific example which is actually why I'm talking about this as a flipped class conference, because obviously growth mindset's not specifically anything to do with flipping. When I flipped a very large lecture, 440 students, I had them bring worksheets with activities that they were supposed to work on, and they had TAs in their sections, and they were supposed to work on a thing, and then we go over it. Let's get this time. Yay, active learning. And so I'd say, okay, work on table number 1, where you have to compare and contrast different cytoskeletal elements, or figure out what goes into a nucleus and what comes out of a nucleus. It was something hard. And I'd start them off, and then I'd start walking around, and I'd see these students kind of sitting like this. And I'm like, where's your worksheet? And they're like, here. And they pull it out from underneath their other papers and set it on top of this line. And I'm like, so, you know, what do you think? They didn't want to put anything down because they wanted to wait to find out what the right answer was. They weren't really interested in like shooting the breeze with their neighbors and saying, well, I don't know, I think it's this, and I think that's dumb, but you do it. They were not interested in being exploratory or creative or risking being wrong. They just said, what do I need to know? I'll write it down and I'll memorize it. That's what my job is. They weren't very happy with me saying, no, your job is to try things and get it wrong and figure out why. And that's what it came down to me, that they don't like that. They don't like being wrong and they don't like asking stuff.
So you tried this on a little bit this semester, last semester, but using little whiteboards instead?
Yes.
With the cameras.
Yes. And that's one of my favorites, yeah.
And that's,
Oh, that's very scary.
what you were saying reminded me of the question that was always here, is it on the test? You know, I only want to pay attention to the right answer. I only want to study something that's going to be on the test. You know, they don't value learning for learning. It's about the grade.
So I want to take a minute to kind of ponder that. That we're dealing with 13 years of K-12 training to write it down correctly and study it correctly and regurgitate it correctly, or work through a problem with a similar set of numbers correctly. And this whole experimenting, guessing, trying, talking is not something that is a strong skill set they have. They've not generally been rewarded for that, or told it's okay to be wrong, everybody's wrong, I'm wrong, the TAs are wrong, we say it out loud and get up and do it again. But that is just not the normal thing that students hear in one courses. So that's why I thought this stuff was interesting. I'm like, this is why they hide their paper under their books and wait. They got mad at me because I said, I am not going to go over the answers. You guys don't do the work, we are not going to go over the answers. And I was just like, "Woo." So we had to come to kind of an agreement that yes, I will try. It will be okay. So let's pivot now to the second experiment. Does anybody have any other examples of things that they've seen? Because once you make space for students to try hard stuff, you then have to convince them to try the hard stuff.
Somewhat, because there was time for problem solving in groups and they spent more time in it, that when they hit the wall on it, it was more evident when they sat back and went, I don't get it, as opposed to when they're just taking notes and they mentally say, I don't get it, put down the pen. I don't see it, as opposed to in their group when they kind of throw up their hands and are done, it's very visible. So I feel like we are more aware of it, at least I am in their group classes.
At Irvine, we have quarter system, which is a dumb idea. Don't ever choose to do quarter systems. But it takes several weeks for them to be able to say, okay, I'm stuck, you know, to just immediately put their hand up when they're stuck. To just be willing to say, I need to engage, I need to get some help here. It's definitely a change in philosophy. That takes a lot of time.
I just mentioned last semester had my students at the very beginning of my class read a synopsis of the Dweck article as homework 0. And a number of them mentioned that article as being influential in helping them persist over the course of the semester. At the end of the year, and on the final exam, I asked them to tell me, name one idea or one thing in this class that sticks with you. And of course, many of them had mathematical comments, but a couple of them mentioned the article as being influential for them.
Which article was that?
What's that?
Which article?
It was an article that it was like a news story that someone had written about with wet. So it was a digestible piece. It wasn't
Like a New York Times article.
Yeah, it was, I can look it up actually. Good,
Which actually pivots us beautifully to the can you change mindset, which is what the next experiment was. If you praise students kind of inappropriately, you kind of create different mindsets or coordinate some different mindsets. You don't really do causation too much here, but generally you tell people they're smart, they don't want to make sure they stay smart. You tell people they will certainly try hard, they're more willing to focus on that. This next experiment, the classic, the experiment only 8 years old can be classic, sure. Blackwell et al. Was another direct experiment, and this was 7th graders, and the goal here was to change mindset. Okay. And again, I'll post these, so unless you enjoy taking notes. They went into, I guess, it's a middle school, students in advisement periods, weren't assigned, they were allowed to participate, they could volunteer to participate in study skills sessions. So 8 times, 25 minutes each. And it's, kind of important to think about how much time does it take to actually implement that. And they created this training program, which I was immediately interested in. What do you do for 8 times 25 to talk about? Is it enough to have them read a direct article, or do you have to do other stuff in 7th graders? So I copy-pasted the table from the paper, and I'll read it kind of quickly because it's blurry, because it's a PDF. The first 2 sessions were on the structure of the brain for 7th graders. Control group got the same. Weeks 3 and 4, they actually talked about you can grow your intelligence, how learning makes your brain smarter, some really kind of basic neuroscience. And in the control group, they got memory, reading, and teaching mnemonics as alternatives. Week 5 and 6, anti-stereotyping, because stereotype threat is another issue that goes along with a lot of these things. Students who feel like they're less successful as a group struggle, but this is a math, associated with math. Handouts, time management, study skills, the other group got that too. And then learning makes you smarter, how avoiding labels like stupid and dumb should be avoided. And here's just preferences, academic difficulties, I don't even know what that means. I'm sure it was awesome. So these students were in advisement periods, and they went off for half an hour and did a thing 8 times in 3 times. And so the groups were experimental, getting the growth mindset training, further control education, just getting general study skills. Questions? All right, they took, I think they were national standard math exams. The end of 6th grade, the beginning of 7th grade before the intervention, and the end of 7th grade after the intervention. Discuss amongst yourselves. What do you see in this data? I think of different questions, but I think they were similar. Maybe they were just kind of the exam you take at this point in time in New York when you're in middle school. They were controlled for how well they did previously, so they control for their ability before it's normalized.
Yeah, it's reverse
Materials see. Some volunteers. Anybody from the math group want to?
So of course the bend is interesting. Two things that I was concerned with is still the overall general downward trend, which is why I asked you about if it was a different test, if it's incoming for students that do more poorly at math as they age up, this is a phenomenon that we know about. I was also concerned if you take the first and the third dot on the experimental line and you imagine connecting those, timeline times 3, the two lines would look parallel in that they would have the same amount of loss over the same amount of time. And so it's interesting to them, but it also kind of looks to me that they, in the end, are losing the same amount with respect to where they started.
Other thoughts from this group? From what I understand, they are normally tested at the beginning and end of each grade with tests that are appropriate for those grades. So I'm guessing that the 7th grade test is harder than the 6th grade test. They're not the exact same questions. And they are normalized for student ability.
Again, we don't know how much is there. So,
This has been highly lauded, so I don't think it's junk or anything. I do think it emphasizes that students, and these were very high minority schools, these are students who continually worse and worse and worse. That is normal. For students who are struggling in math to start with, to continue to struggle worse and worse. So I do think that if you just polled all of the students in the whole school, that would have been indicative of the normal. So I think what this is decent evidence of is that the experimental group was following the same trend. Remember, this is all before the intervention. So the students before they ever met these students, right? This was the year before. Those were their test scores. Before they even started the intervention, they were all doing worse. And then after the intervention, which occurs here, the experimental group. And again, the sample size is not gigantic. Okay? Also, not every school in New York, just one school in New York.
It's like a poster child experiment for not having summer vacation.
That's that. So again, I want you guys to know these are the experiments that are done that indicate, can you change how students feel? I mean, there's a lot of books being written on growth mindset and what we should do with our students and how parents should parent stuff based on these sorts of data.
Another way to look at it, which is probably how it was presented, depending on the standard deviation, it looks like at time 1 there was no significant difference between the control and test group or treatment group, and at the end there was, just because it's a space getting wider. So that's another way to look at it, perhaps.
Not that we can see error bars or anything that would be helpful.
Right. But assuming that worked out.
Assuming that their stats are relatively.
It is white.
Yeah. And I'm happy to give benefit of the doubt there, yes.
I was going to answer the previous question, what article I used.
Oh.
It's just Carol Dweck, she did write this article for Scientific American, The Secret to Raising Smart Kids. Secret to Raising Smart Kids. You search that.
And I'm actually going to allow you guys to share info at the end, so hopefully we'll have ways to encourage that. Because this does come to the question, does this experiment make you think that mindset is malleable? I should do a Princess Bride, let me sum up. The first experiment seems to indicate that praise affects mindset. And also that mindset affects how students react. So people with fixed mindset tend to be focused on performing, tend to be focused on doing better than other students in the class. This is how we judge their value. They don't like to fail. They're more likely to give up. Whereas growth mindset, you're more likely to be interested in mastering, learning new things. There's more enjoyment, positive affect, for those of you that enjoy those words, more instances of challenges, and also doing better on difficult tasks. You're associated with it. The second article says that if you praise for effort and teach about incremental theory, that you can poke these students and maybe bring them down to here. But there are, as you can see, these are difficult experiments to run. There isn't a lot of data on very large sample sizes. Right now, as best I know, there are universities, UT Austin, for instance, is trying to do an experiment to train every one of the incoming freshmen to try and push them towards growth mindset in an online module. We all know how well online modules work about things, but that's how else are you going to get thousands and thousands of undergraduates to learn a thing. But that's kind of where we're at as far as experimental evidence for growth mindset. It's a theory that sounds very sensible and clearly talks to a problem we're having. The students tend to want to give up. They don't like to try hard things. But there's not a huge amount of evidence yet that there's a lot of things you can do about it. So let me ask you now, what do you think? Is this convincing? Are you interested in trying to make a difference? Are you interested in a single reading at the beginning of class level? Sure, what the heck, that doesn't cost anything. Or are you willing to do an 8 times 25-minute in-depth sort of activity? How much of this are you actually buying at this point? And how much effort would you be interested in adding to your experiment, to your classes in order to see if it has any? So those are the topics to discuss now. Turn to your new friends and talk about how you're feeling about the name of the one, what the smart students do?
Oh, yeah, I'm not that sure. I'll
So we were talking about, for my particular university, and I teach upper division, probably by the time they get to me, most of the students who would really benefit from this have been flushed out of engineering. Bad to say, but the truth. But we're looking at increasing our summer bridge program, and this would be something that would be excellent for that. We're focusing on early intervention and keeping them in there, and something like this would really play into that very well.
Especially if you're going to have older mentor students, and you're saying, these are the kinds of messages we want to talk about with younger students. Not like, I was always the bright kid in my class, that's why I'm in engineering. Right. The different sorts of messages that you want to sell. Okay. Other thoughts from this side of the room that gets ignored too much?
We just talked about things that we have to go done in our classrooms, either explicitly looking at, how many read the article and things, or kind of other activities, reflection type things that get at this kind of thing, but not using those words.
Do you think it's true? Raise your hand. Do you think that you can change student mindsets? Okay. Okay. How strong a push does it need? Pretty strong? Rick, that's very little.
I just saw something a week or two ago that said 8 tweets sent out over the course of the semester significantly improved student attention. That's not much.
So catching them at the place where they were feeling
Insane good job. That's all it is.
interesting. All right. Anybody want to fight on that?
I mean, I guess it would have to be some continuously applied thing. I don't know how long that's going to last after you stop doing the feedback.
I was mentioning with this article, I had them read this, and then I had them just answer one question, which was on their homework, to ask them to reflect.
To make them read it.
They had to read it. So the question was, when faced with a mathematical challenge, describe 3 ways a person with a growth mindset would respond differently than a person with a fixed mindset. And that was the only, I mean, that was the beginning of the semester. And I didn't do anything else that was different, although of course I did, over the course of the semester, encourage them to fail a lot, try things. But that was the only intervention. And so it was still surprising to me that a couple students mentioned this on the exam as the most important thing they stuck with. So I don't think it takes too much to change their view of learning.
I think there's a lot of people that struggle, the D students, that they're not stupid, they either haven't learned how to learn, or they focused on the bad rather than the good, and they don't take a lot to turn around. And they won't turn into A students, but they'll turn into licensable engineers.
That's the answer.
To take the B+ student and turn that into MIT grad school student takes a whole lot more than this. Because that 8 tweets isn't going to do it for that. That's a whole lot of knowledge and skill and application that they have to learn how to do. And that's not the motivation piece. The motivation piece isn't that.
And I guess I think that there's a lot of my students come to me talking about they should get credit for effort rather than credit for performance. And so I think that the time here for me is making sure that the effort is leading to improved performance in some way. And that's hard because some of my students put in huge amounts of time and still don't see gains in performance, and then it's figuring out why are they not seeing those gains in performance. So I don't think it's a panacea. I don't think it can work in all cases. But I think I do agree that there's a lot of cases where you can move someone from UWFI for us into C at least category or some successes.
There's lots of interesting literature in changing student mindset and other ideas. One of them is called deliberate practice, which is another group TED Talk sort of activity. And they're saying that the people who are really, really good at X, anything from violin playing to hitting a fastball, actually find the things they're bad at in whatever the activity is and focus their practice and improvement on that. So they're not just studying for 8 hours. They're figuring out what of material do they not know, and getting help to understand that, and then practicing those things. So deliberate practice is a term referring to directed, difficult, type of thing you're very bad at, and working on that, which of course is not something anybody wants to do. Why should I spend lots of things that are hard and painful when I don't have to? So that's a whole interesting area of study if you're looking for a fun read.
I wonder if we can do effort-based assessment.
Affirming?
Efforts, how much effort someone has put.
Oh, effort-based,
Or I mean, I'm not sure if I'm using the correct word, but some different kind of assessment, not just performance-based. You had the first question. All our assessments are performance-based. This is what you did. You scored 80%, so you get this grade. What can be other assessment strategies?
Maybe, but maybe not. I'm thinking one of the things I tried the second time I flipped was teaching them how to read science, biology articles. And so I said, everything we do in class we're not going to actually be tested on. We're going to do a lot of journal articles in class, and we're going to do figures, we're going to figure out what's going on, what the hypothesis is. I mean, the test I'm going to give you a different experiment you'll never have seen before. So there it's not, the effort was actually because they were learning a new skill. So being tested on things they had never seen before was clearly not just memorizing. They had to be willing to try to figure out a new thing and then be tested on that. So that's not just performance. That's, yes, I was willing to learn how to do a new thing and then be tested on how much did that work. I wonder, because otherwise they would say, well, I studied 8 hours. And what's that mean? They read the book for 8 hours over and over again? That's not deliberate practice.
So, I don't know how many people that are familiar with Open Mind in the Coursera Learning How to Learn class, but that's 4 hours of videos spread out over 4 weeks. I think for the people that are saying, look how long I studied and I still got a bad grade, because they're studying wrong, right? And so, I told the people who were on probation last semester that they were supposed to take the class. Some were successful. But I think that for first year students, if you have them doing that their first semester, as part of it for engineering or something, people will understand sort of the psychology behind some of the learning and probably get better performance, if not stress out a little bit less.
Because again, they have not learned that they're supposed to do things they can't do.
Right, and that the failure leads to the success, and the studying for tonight isn't going to be helping.
Right, rereading things. And so then there's the whole Rodinger research on the best retesting. That testing is a better way to learn than reading. Interleaving, where you study two different things, you take turns, just horrifies your brain. Your brain just freaks out no end, because it's got to drill whole new neural pathways to track that information every time you switch. So it hurts, so you feel like you're doing bad studying, but that's the stuff that actually is making you better at retrieving. So these are skills that students will not naturally go to, because they feel like they're doing worse when they do them, rather than rereading. Like, yeah, this is great, I remember this. This is totally what I know how to do. And then they're stuck in something on the test. But they do need assistance in new techniques, unless their evolution got it figured out. Then they need to learn how to tell the younger generation basically stumble across that. That if it hurts, it's helping. If it's easy, it's not studying. That's our teacher. Is anybody thinking about doing anything more than assigning a journal? Are you thinking about having regular, or trying to, you're going to need a project, you're going to need a paper, get your tenure, and like, this is it, I'm totally going to do this project in my class. Yeah, you're all staring. Okay.
Well, since your second question, design a simple experiment here. I mean, I think of educational psychology as simple, and educational experiments are simple as well. They would be doing a great job.
But if you're not in the business of trying to get published, that does simplify things a bit.
Right.
Even if it's just finding out at the end of the class, when you never mention it again, are they likely to actually mention it? Or you can even take some of the survey questions that they use in a random end of class survey and compare two different sections and see the one where you talk more, where you specifically try to talk about failure and overcoming and trying hard and being okay. Can you move a needle in a survey?
And it's easy if you have two sections of the same class, you're not blowing up the whole course. You're taking 5 minutes on Friday to do something in the section.
And that's another reason I put the table up there. So you could say, okay, we're talking about mnemonics or something totally stupid for the core control class. You know, everybody likes to know mnemonics. Instead.
Well, mnemonics are helpful for certain kinds of information. I mean, if you have to learn some basic terminology in mnemonics.
So, order of the planets.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue is coming up with retrieval strategies for the more conceptual information, right? And so, that's why that test retest by Rodinger is helpful, because students convince themselves that the time they spent looking at the page, the studying, when in reality all they're doing is getting a visual, they're learning the visual image of the page and not processing anything at a conceptual level. And so this idea of the test retest is to make them put away their notes, generate the information, and see what they can generate without the notes, without the visual input. And then they go back and they can test themselves, and then they can go back to their notes and figure out what they were missing. So in some ways it's not so different from what this gentleman said about the order of practice. It's a similar kind of idea, where what you want them to do is strengthen their retrieval strategies so that they can generate the conceptual information at a deeper level of understanding, rather than just understanding the physical, what something looks like on a page, which is what a lot of them think of as studying. They think that by looking at the notes, they're studying it, and they really have to be processing the information itself.
And that's one of my favorite parts about flipping the class, is that space is there. Even if all you're doing is teaching them how to study by saying, all right, next 10 minutes I want you to get a blank piece of paper and write down everything that happened in the video lecture. So, and then talk about when that hurts, why that's okay that that hurts, and that's actually your brain figuring out how to find that information. And the more often you do do that, the more often you make each other answer questions from memory, that's building pathways. You're going to talk anyway, that's just what we do, is we talk to them, so at least talk about things that might actually make them think, find hard, struggling.
I think it's important too, when you take the time to do those activities, to then be transparent with the students, to tell them, we're doing this so that you build these neural pathways and things, because otherwise they think,
She ran out of stuff
she told
to
me
do.
to, yeah, so we're just doing this, and I found at least for me, they buy into it more when I tell them, I'm teaching you how to study right now, they're like, oh, you know, whereas if I just do it, they're like, are you learning how to block this or not?
Yeah, weird stuff. I'm going to leave this slide up. One thing I noticed when I was doing reading on growth mindset is there are very few resources for the average Joe faculty member who wants to put together some things. Carol Dweck is happy to charge you money for her training program, but there's very few resources just out there to share. So if you're interested in seeing what other people might have found, I am going to create an email list with this information and send it to anybody who signs up for it. And then you can talk about things that if you want, yes, I'm a person who is interested in things that might help me add growth mindset stuff to my class, and use your own little email list. And I won't try to sell you anything. I got nothing to say. All right, we are going to end early. How's that for crazy? I have evaluations that I'm going to hand out.